Today, on this episode of The Crossover, we will be discussing StrongFirst Incorporated, the School of Strength, with StrongFirst Director of Education, Brett Jones. Find out how strength and power are the core principles of any fitness routine, regardless of age, gender, and discipline. Much more on this episode of The Crossover. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be talking with Brett Jones from StrongFirst. Hey, Brett, how you doing?
Fabulous, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. Listen, thanks for joining us. I'm just going to do a brief introduction while everyone's logging on here. And again, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
So we have the pleasure of speaking with Brett Jones. He's a nationally recognized expert in fitness, exercise, and power. He's currently the Director of Education at StrongFirst Incorporated. As background, Brett is a certified athletic trainer and strength and conditioning specialist. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Sports Medicine, as well as a Master's of Science in Rehab Sciences. He is also a certified strength and conditioning specialist from the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Of note, Brett is on the advisory board for the Functional Movement Systems, and he has over 25 years experience, so he consults with multiple professional teams and athletes, as well as presents throughout the U.S. regarding his fitness program. Brett's main focus is on kettlebells, and we'll get into that today. He's taught these kettlebell principles since 2003 and has created multiple DVDs, especially the world-renowned series titled Secrets of. Brett is 100% dedicated towards improving education in the fitness arena, and he's here today to discuss StrongFirst, the School of Strength. So Brett, again, thanks so much for joining us. Super excited to have you on.
Dr. Kumatar, it's wonderful to have the opportunity to speak to you and your audience, and look forward to our conversation today.
Awesome, man. So tell us a little bit about StrongFirst. I mean, I've been doing my research. I think that your guys' theories and your programs are just terrific. Tell us a little bit when and why you guys got started.
So Pavel started teaching kettlebell certifications workshops about 21 years ago. I was at the second ever cert that he taught in February of 2002 and have been teaching with him since April of 03, so a few years in. And about 10 years ago, there was a little split in the organization, and StrongFirst was established. Just wanted to go in a little bit different direction and really kind of build up not only the kettlebell, but the barbell and body weight offerings, and really kind of get those branches of the School of Strength more established. And so, yeah, that's kind of one of the questions that you had in there was, our motto is that we pursue, promote, and practice strength because we believe strength has a greater purpose. And that runs in a lot of different directions. You can look at it from the Medvedev quote where, strength is the master quality. It is the foundational quality that makes all other qualities possible or enhances those qualities. So there's a lot to unpack there, but also just, strength is a quality that allows us to endure, survive, handle all the things that life can throw at us. As a cancer survivor, it's definitely something that I'm rather familiar with, and strength having a greater purpose in many different areas.
I mean, tell us a little bit about that, right? So everyone's always heard the comment, sound body, sound mind, right? You guys are big into strength and power, and everyone thinks that, well, okay, so you're strong physically, but explain how physical strength translates into mental strength.
It's a foil. It is your ability to focus, and I'm going to say endure the training that builds great strength. It builds your capacity to handle other things that you're going to have to endure in your life. And so I think too often people, there's the old Socrates quote that it's a shame that people don't explore their physical realm and become experts in their physical selves, because there's so much to be learned there. So yeah, that sort of mindset and that ability to endure really translates into so many different areas.
Tell us a little bit about your general routine, StrongFirst routine for a beginner, advanced, and then an expert, just briefly.
Absolutely. So beginners are going to start with Pavel's Simple and Sinister program, and that's going to be heavily based on swings and get-ups. Now, sneakily in there are some hip bridges, goblet squats, halos, things that are going to help improve movement. Kind of part of that warm-up or movement prep is going to be effective for it. So there's a couple of things that sneak in there, but essentially swings and get-ups. Because if you progress from a good kettlebell deadlift to a good kettlebell swing, there's lots of benefit to be had there. And the get-up is that, as Gray Cook has put it, that alignment with integrity under load that's going to build a lot of stability, midsection strength, and really get a beginner off on a really good path. And then for the intermediate person, now we're going to get into cleans, presses, and squats proper, in addition to our, we're always doing our swings and get-ups, but now we build the program out and we have these, pressing overhead. Prior to the days of the bench press, you were judged by what you could put overhead and military press and put weight overhead. That was the judge. Now it's, bro, what do you bench? Back then it was, what do you military press? And so that addition to the routine allows us to build more strength, more, whether it's midsection, upper body, lower body. And then for the advanced practitioner, now we start moving into moves like the kettlebell snatch. And not that snatches can't be built in that intermediate phase, but we're doing that as a technique practice. For the advanced practitioner, now we're going to go after snatches, cleans, jerks, push presses, things that would be Olympic lifting cousins, that will build out the program even further, allow us to work on our power and strength endurance.
Now, you guys, as I said before, are heavy into the kettlebell, and I think that it's such an underutilized technique. Explain why the kettlebell is the centerpiece of your program, and what makes the kettlebell such a great fitness technique.
Absolutely. So it is deceptively simple, right? It's a cannonball with a handle on it, and it just has this kind of brutish look to it, and that's deceiving though, because that thick handle and offset center of gravity means that kettlebell is more alive. When you pick up a dumbbell or barbell, that weight is going to align with your hand and has a different impact. But when you have to control that offset center of mass in things like a swing or a clean, and when you have the kettlebell over in the rack position, that offset center of mass is going to literally guide your body up to a certain point, literally guide your body into better positions. So as I'm going overhead with that offset center of mass, it's going to help me find that efficient overhead position. Once you get heavy enough, it challenges that alignment and ability to find that great overhead position. So, and probably the secret sauce is this really unique loaded eccentric position that we can get into. You can't swing a barbell between your legs more than once. Once you've done it once, you'll decide that was a really bad idea, and you'll go ahead and not do that again. Self-correcting exercise. But the kettlebell, we're able to achieve this really unique loaded eccentric position. And I've been on a force plate doing two-handed swing with a 24-kilo bell, and I can achieve 3 to 3.5 times my body weight eccentric load in that position. That's a lot of return on investment for a 53-pound weight to give me 3 to 3.5 times my body weight eccentric load. Now I'm absorbing and redirecting that force in a very dynamic manner. That's athletics. Our ability to absorb force and handle those forces and turn them around into powerful, crisp athletic movements. I think that's why the kettlebell succeeds in so many ways.
I mean, it's just, people spend thousands of dollars in home gyms and buying all these instruments. And basically what you're saying is a kettlebell, if you pick it correctly, you can do an entire workout with just a kettlebell.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Now, kettlebells tend to breed. And once you've bought your first one, they'll tend to multiply, and you'll get a few extra bells in the room. But yeah, with 2 or 3 bells, I feel very confident building a program for just about anybody.
Amazing. So I'm going to ask you just some general questions about fitness and working out based on your experience, questions that I've had and that I've heard. Is there a best time of the day to work out? Morning, afternoon, night, based on physiology, cortisol levels?
So two answers there. The best time of the day to work out is the day that it works, is the time that it works in your schedule and that it will happen consistently. Because long-term consistency will trump short-term intensity 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. It is the strategy to look for. And so for a lot of people, it is sometimes it's got to happen first thing in the morning. If it doesn't happen first thing in the morning, 10 things are going to get added to the schedule during the day, and that planned workout just isn't going to happen. So once you've checked that box for how can I make this consistent in my life, now you can start looking at, well, like for me personally, I don't prefer morning exercise. I need a little coffee. I need to get moving a little bit, and then I feel comfortable, starting a practice. I guess strictly speaking, for power, an early to mid-afternoon session is kind of ideal. But you gotta go with what works. And that trumps all of the physiological reasons that I may choose a certain exercise time get trumped by when can I actually make it work in my life.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then what about duration, right? It used to be where you'd be in the gym for like 3 hours a day. Then there started to have research showing that after about 45 minutes to an hour, you end up breaking down muscle because you're anabolic versus catabolic. What is the longest, or what time period do you recommend working out for? What's the best?
You can get a really efficient workout in 20 to 30 minutes. And I think if you look at something like Simple and Sinister, where you're doing your timeless swings and you start to accomplish those swings in roughly 10 minutes, and that's a fairly concentrated effort. Then you finish with your get-ups. I actually flip that. I like to start with my get-ups and then finish with my swings. But that becomes, shorter workouts. Now you need to pair that with more extended efforts. So now we're looking at that 30 to 45 minute session. I rarely go as far as actual work is concerned. So when I was powerlifting, yeah, I'd be in the gym for 2.5 hours. Now I got like 10 minutes of work in because, I'd build up and do a heavy set of squats, and then I'd rest for 10 minutes because that's what you get to do in powerlifting. But in general, yeah, I think ballpark 20 to 45, if you're working within that range and visiting different time frames. Some of your workouts should be shorter. Some of them should be longer. There's a saying, this was actually at my first certification with Pavel, only the mediocre are at their best all the time. So if you're doing the same thing all the time and you're kind of you think you're always killing it, you might not be. You might need to mix that up a little bit. Have days where you do a little bit longer, have days where you do less, optimize that recovery, and focus on the quality and the output in the sets, not trying to kill yourself.
Now, one of the more popular workout regimens is CrossFit. CrossFit uses a lot of kettlebell as well. Explain, what are your thoughts on CrossFit and how does it relate to StrongFirst?
So I think as you stated, it's a very popular, well-known, gym and system. I think that the focus towards many different qualities is complicated from a programming standpoint. I think maybe the intensity is a little too high too often. If I'm just giving basic, critiques. On the really positive side of things, Olympic lifting's never been more popular. It's helped with the popularity of kettlebells. They have popularized and made a lot of things more prevalent in the fitness world. So as far as StrongFirst, I think if you bring StrongFirst techniques and programming into that system, I think it enhances the system. I think there's things that CrossFit does really well. And there's things that, like I said, I think too high intensity too often would be my basic criticism or advice there.
Yeah, and someone just posted, and I totally agree, very injury prone. I think I've had a lot of friends that do CrossFit and they end up with some gnarly injuries. So CrossFit, if you're going to do it, just beware of the injuries. Um, how many days a week should you work out ideally, right? I don't know if there's a right answer. Some people do 2, 5, 7 days a week. You know,
Mhm.
what's the ideal regimen?
So ideal is up to the individual and what you can recover from. I think too many people take the standpoint in exercise that they're going to see how much they can do and recover from it. Flip that. What's the least you need to do in order to get results? Like if you start there, like my work capacity, as I got back into training post cancer and everything, my work capacity is really just through the roof right now. Like I feel like I can do just a ton of volume and work, but that just built very progressively, as time went by there. Um, three three days a week is very good, and without knowing the exact details of the program, like I've done daily deadlifting and daily training for 6, 7 days a week for extended period of time. I've gotten good results on 2 to 3 days a week of training. So there's a lot of different factors that go into that. What is the ideal amount? And it does come back to two kind of practical things. What do you have time in your schedule for? And what can you recover from? And I think it's really interesting from a training standpoint that recovery has become this thing that has a whole cottage industry that's grown up around it. Like there's so many tools and things that you can buy now that are focused towards the recovery. And I was asked on a podcast a couple of years ago where they were like, well, what's your favorite recovery strategy? I said, well, proper programming. Because if I programmed myself appropriately, I should recover from my training. And if you're constantly trying to figure out how to recover from your training, start by doing less.
And I guess let's get into that recovery a little bit more. People talk about the importance of rest days. Let's say you work out Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you don't do anything, just pure recovery. Why are rest days just as important as actual workout days?
Rest days are important because that's when your body's actually rebuilding, improving, super compensating from the work that you've done. If you're not now, daily training is possible. Absolutely. You can look at many examples of very physical jobs where, people do that on a daily basis and they recover and do other things, just fine. That rest time is your recovery time. And I saw a quick comment there about sleep. And so, yeah, the lifestyle part of this conversation, just, you have to figure that into your recovery. Too many times people spend time trying to figure out the perfect program, but they're sleeping 5 hours a night. They're eating McDonald's twice a day and they're having relationship and work stress. And it's like, well, good luck recovering because you have all of those holes in your recovery bucket right now. I'd patch those holes first, do less, let your body, let that recovery system kind of get back to where the tank is topped off. Now you're going to be able to push a little bit more physically. Yeah.
So I want to get into more detail about sleep because that is totally underappreciated. Sleep and diet. How critical is it to actually have good sleep? What is a good amount of sleep, do you believe? And what's the appropriate diet? Like, what's the breakdown of carbs, fats, proteins?
So to get into the sleep thing real quick, ballpark 7 to 9 hours. Everybody's a little bit different. You'll find an optimal level that allows you to recover and feel good, feel energetic. You should wake up and not feel like you want to go back to sleep. So 7 to 9. How you optimize your sleep. There's a lot of different information out there right now. That's people talk about, increasing testosterone and stuff like that. Best thing for your hormonal levels is 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep that allows your body to do what it needs to do in those REM cycles and in those physiological cycles that happen when we sleep. So sleep is critical. It is, if that's a weak link right now, you will make the biggest changes in your life and your program by getting that to be dialed in. Nutrition, I am horribly simplistic when it comes to my nutrition. I don't count macros. I don't focus on any of that. I eat lean meats and lots of veggies and a sprinkling of other stuff in there. I'm not afraid of carbs. I'm not anything like that. So um, I'm pretty simplistic as far as that goes. And, having my part of my cancer journey was losing over 40 pounds during my treatment, and having to kind of rebuild. And, my docs initially were like, whatever you want, make yourself shakes, like, you can, all those things, do the things, eat. And I'm back to a healthy weight, and I just want to enjoy. And I think that that's one of the things that gets missed a little bit when we start having the nutritional conversation. People start looking at it as a negative. They look at it as a stress. I like food. I like the taste of food. I want to eat things that I enjoy. But if it's lean meats and veggies, and if that's the predominance of what you're taking in, a lot of other good things are going to fall into place.
Makes total sense. What supplements do you think people should be taking? And is there an appropriate pre-workout, post-workout supplement you should take?
So I actually, outside of a vitamin D, I take 0 supplements whatsoever. And I can remember years ago being at a conference and was having a conversation with somebody who was, of course, selling a protein powder or something like that. And they're like, well, what do you take? And I'm like, nothing. And, at the time I was powerlifting, and I had some decent lifts and grip stuff that I was doing. And like, this person was like shocked, like, well, how do you train and not take supplements? Like, well, I eat well, I sleep, and I program myself properly. So I think that supplements should be that last link in the chain, that last thing that you're looking for that bump. And, somebody had posted on the Strong First forum about caffeine and stuff like that. And you break it down, ballpark, there's a 1.7% improvement just in something like caffeine. Like, unless you're racing in the Olympics or trying to make it a time trial, 1.7% difference in your performance ain't a lot. So I think that if you keep the focus towards sleep, good nutrition, proper programming, your need for supplements goes way, 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 way down. Now, if you're in that situation where you're just having trouble meeting those overall protein needs, maybe if you're on a hypertrophy program and you're not getting the results you want, then bumping your protein intake can make sense. So I'm just, again, brutally simple on everything like that. I would rather eat it than supplement it. And but yet, because I have a history of some things, I take a little vitamin D because I don't spend a lot of time out in the sun for various reasons. But yeah, that's about as simple as I can go.
I mean, it's such great information for everyone. Basically, eat right, sleep right, and the rest falls into place. What are the top 3 total body exercises in your opinion? And by total body, I want to make sure that you include core, because people a lot of times will just, neglect their core. But in your opinion, top 3 total body exercises.
So and I'm going to break this into a couple of different areas. If we're talking kettlebell, then get-ups, swings, and then some sort of jerk or press. So we go overhead, we have a great hip exercise, and then we have that great kind of midsection and core focus and shoulder stability and everything else within the get-up. Barbell, pretty classic. Deadlift, squat, military press. If we're going to talk body weight, then it's pull-ups, push-up, somewhere in the realm. I work a little bit on my one-arm push-ups, just a little more strength focus. And then some sort of single leg activity. So a single leg deadlift, airborne lunge, taken to the extreme, it's the single leg squat, AKA pistol, which is different from the airborne lunge. So that just kind of breaks it down by the modalities of things that I think are really, really important.
Okay. I mean, I'm big into pull-ups. How good are pull-ups for you?
Fantastic. Mark Rifkin, one of our master instructors, had at one time called the lat the super muscle. And, it's absolutely true. Whether if I'm deadlifting and swinging, my ability to connect my lat to my hips through the thoracolumbar fascia and really become one piece is so important to my strength. If we're talking about running, your arm movement and the way the lat gets involved, and again, via that thoracolumbar fascia, because the lat just becomes thoracolumbar fascia, becomes glute, becomes IT band, the Serrape effect, and you can look at it from anatomy trains and different perspectives. But the way your lat can tie everything together, even something like a military press. So as soon as you go into flexion and you kind of open that anterior shoulder, that lat becomes anterior containment for your shoulder. And it's providing a ton of stability and work within any of our overhead lifts. So huge fan of pull-ups. The lat is one of those super cool, fascinating muscles within the body that really does a lot for us.
All right, great to hear. What would you say are the top 3 workout/fitness myths?
Intensity, that you got to go hard all the time. If you can't sit here and think of your last easy session, that's a problem. You should have a waving of intensity. You should have purposefully easy days, and you should have purposefully hard days. That's one of the things that in Plan Strong and some of the work that Pavel's done, traditionally we put intensity and volume on this. They're linked. So if I'm high volume, I'm low intensity, and then if I'm high volume, I'm low intensity. So those two things are linked in an asymmetrical or inverse fashion. That doesn't have to be the case. You can have high volume, high intensity. You can have low volume, low intensity, and every permutation in between. So the idea that you have to always be intense, I think, is a big one. And that's really kind of the biggest thing. I think if people change their mindset on that, and had a better rotation and waving, they would really get a lot. I do think that the fact that you need supplements is probably another myth that people would do better changing. And then maybe we talk about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's from a work perspective. That's not a pain perspective. And so if you're hurt, you're not healthy. You have a healthcare problem that you need to address. And so I talk to too many people that are like, oh, my shoulder's been bothering me for 3 years. I'm like, 3 years? What? Why haven't you done anything about it? Well, I just thought it would get better. Oh, how's that working for you? Like, you should probably do something about that.
Now, what about your guys' research, right? I feel like fitness and exercise has really evolved in terms of our understanding in the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. What are you guys at StrongFirst doing to continually advance your program and your techniques?
So Pavel, when StrongFirst started, and Pavel kind of asked us, like, what do you want to book on? Like, where are we going? And we basically said conditioning. And he thought was going to be something pretty quick to put together. That was 5 to 6 years of deep dive into conditioning and biochemistry and the energy systems and everything. So Pavel really leads the charge there, and being an incredible student of not only physical culture and strength training, but also of the science that supports all of this. So his time spent in research is really powerful in what we're doing. We're starting a study now, collecting some information now on doing a force plate comparison of characteristics of the swing with experienced instructors versus novices. And so we're kind of moving in that direction of maybe getting involved in more research to really set some parameters and things like that. But just as students of this and exercise physiology and personal training and things like that, always having our eyes out on what's coming out.
And give us your crystal ball view, 5, 10, 20 years from now, kind of cutting edge new developments you see in the world of exercise and fitness coming up.
I actually think it's going to, and hopefully this works out. We'll see. Maybe we'll talk again in 20 years and we'll see. I actually think it's going to be in the direction of being more simplistic. And I think the biggest change that needs to happen, the 80+%, and specific to the US, the 80+% of people that do not exercise. If you ask them, why do you exercise? They will give you some sort of aesthetic reason. It is for fat loss. It is to look a certain way. We've totally negated, ignored the health benefits. The fitness is a vehicle for better health. And so if I were to look 20 years down the road and hope that things have moved in any direction, it is in that direction of fitness being a vehicle for better health and less about the aesthetics. There are so many reasons to train that have nothing to do with how you look. And I think that there are simple methods to get there. To our point earlier, 2 to 3 kettlebells, 1 to 2 kettlebells, you got a complete home gym. There's a ton of things that you can accomplish. And if the pandemic has highlighted anything, those people that are physically fit tended to do better during this time frame. And so moving in that direction of fitness as a vehicle for health and having very healthful ways to train. I think that is when you look at previous high intensity efforts, and I've been in the industry long enough to where I've seen things come and go over the last little while here, and high intensity training showed up and stayed for a couple of reasons. It's time efficient. And that was to your point earlier of, well, you used to be in the gym for 2.5 hours. Well, now we can get you a high intensity workout in 15 to 20 minutes and your efficiency is way greater. And high intensity training is a little bit like a cabbage soup diet. You can do it for a little while. You'll see some weight loss. Nobody's staying on the cabbage soup diet for the rest of their life. So you need a strategy that is sustaining. And there are ways to work on your training that enhance your health. And the high intensity work, great for short periods of time, great for peaking. It's not something that you're never going to do, but it is something that if you do too much of it, that's like having nitrous oxide on your car. It's great for a sprint, but if you keep using it, you're going to blow the engine. And so I think that'll be another thing that comes if we can move in the direction away from aesthetics. Then I think that direction of really training for health and optimizing our physical selves. I hope that is the direction.
I mean, Brett, it's been a great interview. I've always been fascinated with exercise, fitness, diet. Your guys' program is so unique, just like you said, in the sense that you guys don't need to buy thousands of dollars worth of gym equipment. It's 1 or 2 or 3 kettlebells. It's not hours in the gym. It's 20 to 45, 50 minutes most. Strength is the core, power is the core. So, it's just been a great interview. Fascinated by kind of how you guys approach it. Simple, easy, doesn't really matter your age, your gender, what your discipline is. So again, great to talk to you. StrongFirst.com. Everyone should check it out. Truly amazing. Thanks so much, Brett. Awesome interview.
Dr. Kumar, thanks so much. Great to chat with you and your audience, and look forward to any future opportunities. And strength has a greater purpose.
Absolutely, bud. Talk soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir. You as well.